Welcome back, MTG Joe here. Today we are trying out a deck that I found from MTGA Melee from a weekend tournament. This was a Japanese tournament, about 60 people, and this Gruul Modify Aggro deck went 5-2 by Takahiro Fujimoto. So shout out to Takahiro. So kind of a cool deck, wanted to give it a shot, seemed kind of up my alley of aggressive decks, and there's a lot of new cards here and kind of synergy elements from Kamigawa that all play into each other. So with the modify effect, the kind of main payoff is Thunder and Reiju. 4 mana, 3/3, haste. When it attacks, put a 1/1 counter on target creature you control, then it deals X damage to each opponent, where X is the number of modified creatures you control other than Thunder and Reiju. So pair this, you have Invigorating Hot Springs, 3 mana enchantment, enters the battlefield with 4 1/1 counters on it. Modify creatures you control have haste, so if a creature in your deck has haste, basically, because a lot of things have counters on this deck. And then you can remove a counter from the Hot Spring to modify a creature and put it a 1/1 counter. Notably, you can only do this once per turn at sorcery speed. So kind of pairing with the deck, there's a couple synergies we have. Oran Reef High Ooze puts counters on things, and when it attacks, it adds more counters to each attacking creature with counters on it. So synergy there. You have Shatter Skull Charger. So normally this card's not that good because it's 3 mana, it attacks, and then it goes back to your hand. But there's a number of ways we could put counters on it, and then when it has a counter on it, it doesn't have to return to hand. So if we do it that way, then it's actually a really good rate, because if you have like a 5/4 trample haste for 3 mana, it's a really good rate in terms of just body overall. So then kind of looking through, you have Kumano faces Kakuzen, ping your opponent, modify it by giving them a counter on Saiga 2, and then you get another creature on Saiga 3. Swarm Shambler, small creature, kind of the forgotten elements of mono green of past, but when creatures you control with 1/1 counters die, you get insects, so a little bit of synergy there. Kami's Flare, 3 damage burn spell, but if you have a modified creature, deals 2 to the opponent, so some synergy there. Sorry, my dog's deciding right now is the time she wants pets. Upriser Renegade, so 2 mana, 1/3, but it gets +2/0 for each other modified creature you control. So this creature on its own can get pretty big, so pretty cool card there. Ranger's Class, another way to just pump up stuff. And then you have Chariot as some more beaters, and then Goldspan Dragon. The one card that we're not playing is the Mythic, forget it, was not Bazeju, the Mythic 3/3 that other modified creatures get trample. When it deals damage, you get to fetch for a forest. You only have 4 forests in the deck on its own rate. It doesn't really enable anything. The one thing we'll want to see is if trample is relevant. That might be something we add afterwards. I do have a sideboard. I'll post it with the sideboard. We're doing a best of 1 run. And with that, I'm pretty much like close to locked in for top 1200. I'm around that bubble mark with like a day and a little left. So at this point, we're just going to be playing in a standard event to see how it plays out. And then if it does play well, we can always take it to the ladder later. But let's give this a shot, see how Modified Gruul plays out. And really what we try to do with these is test out the decks. It may work out, may not, but really what we're trying to do is learn as we go through. Usually it's like mixed results with these types of events. You get some meta decks, you get some off meta decks. I think this is fine. Gonna go Kumana first. Life gain. Star Pupil. So I think we're gonna do this because next turn this enters as 2 power. While this does let us do something. So we have 2 power, because the thought is here, even if they had removal, we had something to block. Next turn, I have this Kami's Flare to kill something. And then I drop the Reiju after. I could play Shatter Skull tapped. Opponent might be on some sort of modify list as well. So they're gonna loot. So this will kill this. And then Reiju comes down. Play this tap so we don't take damage. Actually, given that, I think given this, we're kind of ahead on board. We'll be able to hit this and deal some more damage. We'll see if they have anything else to commit to this Star Pupil. So they're like all in on one creature. Reiju smashes in. Alright, opponent's deck wasn't that good, but we kind of curved out well there, I think, against the majority of the deck. Like, we played to the board each turn, we advanced their board state, had reasonable attacks. Playing Big Mama 2, the sequel. I think decent. We can kind of hold off. It's a little awkward because I can't play Kumana on 1, but we also don't have a play on 1. Sorry, on 2 to take advantage. So this lets me go Kumana on 2 into Oran Reef, get the counter, put counters on both things. So then when we attack, we get some value there. Okay, so this is the mono blue tempo list. Could have a number of counters here, which is a little annoying. We'll also have flyers. So we just gotta hope no counter. Okay, so they flip Delver. This is actually a matchup that's kind of annoying with them being on the play. They mulled pretty far down. They have like Fading Hope here. Two, three, we can still block. I think we're just gonna like force Reijus, make them have an answer each turn. We're at 12, but we're gonna hit them pretty hard here. They can make the Spirit a 4/4 here. So we want to put Modify trigger here first. So they can take out the etching here. But that means they're taking 10 to the face. Otherwise they had a clean block on Reiju, and I think Reiju's more important. Give me one sec. Go. Tank, 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 tank. While this is like really good in this matchup, we don't want to play it into Spell Pierce. So they have 7 here. The Reiju's abilities stack, which is nice. They could have blocked. They actually had us. This block's here, we only had him for 5. We'll take that. That synergy with is actually really nice. Just pump up the team pretty big. Ping a bunch of damage. Even with the tap down there, we were able to kind of tempo them. In retrospect, it was probably bad attack with the Kumana faces. It was a free block on their part. I think we keep this. Well, we don't get like the value on turn 2 unless we draw something. I think just getting that out now has utility. Next turn we go Ornreef Ooze. Check my traps. Which one you want? I could actually mess with my curve pretty well here. So here I'm going to do this first. They're inclined to hit the Ornreef Ooze. And this lets us push through some damage. I have Reiju next turn, which we can start stacking counters on things. Try to get out of meat hook range. They just do like wedding announcement. Yeah, that's pretty good for us. So here, like, they're not going to be able to meat hook for enough. Even Crippling Fear doesn't do enough. It just gets rid of Reiju. Couple options here. So they're gonna have 2 blocks. They could have Vanishing Verse, because they could also have Meat Hook for more than 2 next turn, so valid line, but so I think here, because we could get the drains in. I don't want to play this Chariot, and if they blocked kind of weird, I had an opportunity to sneak it in. It also lets me have another modified creature. This pings for 1. I can always attack with this too. This also has enough toughness, so I'm okay. This deck's actually really sweet. So kind of a cool, well, they know my hand, but because this gives priority, so you could kind of fake like you have a protection spell. I think they needed to take out the Raiju there before combat, or the Ooze. Like, Kumana was the least valuable of the threats, so I think their threat assessment was poor there. This is going to ping damage, and like they were going to be able to chump block, but having one big thing that doesn't do much after. Cool. We basically just modify everything, put counters, 3 damage comes through regardless. Nice. Is that 3-0? What do we need? 4 wins to break even. That game, like, they had discard, they had announcement, they had a verse, they had some creatures into Lulth, and we were still able to just get them. I think we keep this. Yikes. This hand on the play is not great. We ideally want it to go like 1 into 2. Them going double visitor is kind of scary. It's going to mean that they're going to be able to outscale us. Us just not drawing lands also isn't going to help. We don't really have removal, which means they're going to snowball. But this is a good test to see how we play into these kind of creature mirrors. The big variable for them is going to be the lifelink. If they're able to get that rune going, they can make just a really big creature. Okay, so they wisely go all in on 1. Need a land here. Okay, so it's actually not bad because we level up there, we do Kumana, we just gotta try to race because this charger next turn will come down and be able to throw on some hurts. Come in, interrupt. My dog simultaneously wants to be every place and no place. Okay, so Kami doesn't get the buff. We can use this on defense. That's actually not bad for a future turn. We're at 11. We could potentially die on the crackback, so I think we're just doing this. Gives me a blocker. Depending on how they attack and block, with Kami's Flare, I might be able to get them. Okay. They're dead. That was actually kind of sick that we stole that. So they took the more aggressive line, putting me at 1, hoping that I didn't have removal. we had the trample anyway, so they were only going to absorb some damage. Kind of a risky line. The safer play on their part is to take out my 6/5, I think, or hold it up at instant speed and just blink in combat. I think both of those are reasonable. They ended up going a more aggressive route, and we kind of stole that from them. I think I would cut one chariot and go up to a 4th of the burn spell. I think that is a super reasonable line. Also, the charger felt pretty good there. Alright. This hand looks pretty sweet. Shamble Boy into class, into ooze, level up. Got Okiba dealing some damage. This becomes a 2/2. Vehicles you control have menace. So it itself does have menace. Okay. A little annoying there. So I think here... just keep pushing in damage, because I could up Ranger's class here. I also have Kami's Flare. So they might have another removal spell. They're like Rakdos enchantments. Jeez. Again, kind of missing lands. I think we're just doing this. Could we get a land, please? I think we're fine taking another hit. Because I could take them off this land if need be. Does this untap? We're at 7, they go up here. Okay, that's actually pretty good. It's a lot of damage coming through. Two mana, 5/3. Seems decent. They need to leave blockers behind. Whenever you cast an enchantment spell, if you don't control... Let's see how they do attacks here. We'll take the 2. So I could up Ranger's class, that puts counters. Boom, 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 boom. Everything gets big. This deck's actually really sweet. I don't think we need Chariot. I think Chariot's more of a control card, but there's enough meat hooks that kind of invalidate Chariot at this point. But the lines have been like really slick with this deck. There's definitely a shell here. Not a bad start. We have Upriser. Next turn we go Ooze, put a counter on Ooze. This becomes a 5/3. The lifelink could be relevant, we'll have to see, but circle there is a little annoying. No blocks. I have Charger next turn. Try to gum up the ground. His companions could chump for a while. That's fine. That's annoying. Don't think I can take an 8-shot. Let's take an 8-shot. That was a hell of a last card. Thing is, they're gonna be able to gain 8+ again this turn. If we can get a wide enough board, though, it plays pretty well. Damn it. They've had, like, gas. I don't think I can win at this point. The lifelink's gonna be too big. Nothing in my deck. Because, yeah, my gold spans don't even work. If they didn't have Catilda, we would have had a chance. Because I could have started to, like, pressure, but anything kind of over the 3 toughness, they were going to swing the life gain too much. Sometimes the opponent just sequences, like Jukai into like answer your thing. Oh, but by the way, gain 8. We weren't going to win that one. Catilda had us lethal in the air. But that's why we play. If you're interested in this deck tracker, it's free to use. The link's in the video description. Gives you in-game stats, all those details. We go first. We'll keep. I think this hand's reasonable. So I'm going to go Upriser Renegade because then I can go Ooze the following turn. Could be the enchantment deck. Just on budget lands. Yep. When you draw the same amount of Rangers classes as you do lands. The pace in which this scales up is actually really impressive. We need a red land next turn. It's a decision they made. Red land? The games where they don't have Jukai, it's kind of night and day. Red land? Red land? You're not the red land I ordered. Like, we're pressuring them in a way, but we're also... They have 6 cards in hand. And now they have a Catilda. Jeez. That's super frustrating. 2 games in a row there where we just kind of stumbled and Catilda bet us. Again, we were doing alright, but if we had that turn where we could have Kaiju'd, we would have pumped up the squad really big. Those games are frustrating where you have the curve but you just can't pull it off. On the play, we don't really have a way to modify. Let's try this. There we go. Now this hand looks a lot better. Go Upriser, Renegade. Like, I've been impressed with this. Class has been okay. I think, how many are we playing? 3, probably go down to 2. Cut down a Chariot. Go up another Kami's Flare. Potentially another 1-drop. Good opponent disconnect. Are they fearful of the Swarm Shambler? Are they trying to find out how do I beat this 1/1 insect? Insect? Fungus beast. What happened to my mushrooms? I think we got a disconnect on opponent's side. Because like these curves make it much better. Vampires. Voldaren Epicha. So I think we're gonna go class this turn and then put a counter on this. Gives me some options for the following turn. I don't think we want to Kami's Flare their 1/1. Doesn't really do much. Hello. We know you're there. You played a card. Okay. We'll take that. We'll take that. That evens out with the mana screw. Is that 6? Alright, boss battle. Win or go home. 7 wins or 3 losses. I think the enchantment deck's always going to be tough just because their removal can answer ours, plus they have lifelink to swing it. So I think that's always going to be a bad matchup, at least the way we're configured. I think one way we could hedge that is more Boseiju. Let's keep. Sounds a bit slower, but I think if we can curve out 2, 3, 4, we could be all right. Interesting, no attack there. So that does put them down Deadly Dispute. The longer we can hold this, the better. And really what we want to try to do here is just outpace Deadly Dispute. If they want to take their turn, Necrotic's Fumes, we're okay there because I can get Raiju going. So I think this turn we're going to do this. This can let them meat hook Raiju, but they're going to be inclined regardless. Okay, so that's the Wanderer. That's like for sure the Wanderer. So the question is, how do we play this out? I think we do the 2 of these, put this to 5 power, 5 toughness, because the Wanderer will take out Raiju. Or the Wandering Emperor. So they can meat hook my board here. But then I can level this up and Shatter Skull. Charger. Can also hit with this Lair Hydra. Enters battlefield with a 1/1 counter. That works. Gotcha! 7 wins. 7 wins. Took down a number of sweeper decks. So it seems pretty good into these control decks. You got a lot of hasty, powerful threats that all individually need to be answered. The enchantment deck is just something we'd have to look into. But 7 wins, felt pretty good. Let me know what you think in the comments, and we will catch you next time.